Hey everybody, how are you? It's so good to see you all in the comments. For those of you who are just tuning in, I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem, composer and booktuber, doing a 1K live stream celebration here. It's great to see you all here. This is my first solo live stream with special guests, and looks like a couple of special guests might be on the backstage here. So I'm gonna add some on so we can just start the discussions right away. And for all of you who want to leave any questions in the chat, please feel free to leave them, and I'll answer them best I can. It could be about anything. It could be about books. It could be about music, life, whatever. I'm just excited to chat with you all, and really appreciate you all being here and for helping to make this community what it is, because honestly, it couldn't be without you guys. So really appreciate you all. Oh, it's great to see you all here, Jenny. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you all. Oh, just you wait, my friend. All right, I'm gonna add a couple of these guests on now here. Hello, Philip and Chaz. How are you guys doing?
Really good.
Yeah. I wondered who the other special guest was. It's Chaz. Hey,
Chaz. I knew one of them had to be Dr. Fantasy. I knew.
Oh, totally. Dr. Fantasy is a pillar of fantasy community, so have to always.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be here, Nikhil, and congratulations on the first 1K. First of many to come, I hope. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
This is very well deserved, Nikhil. I'm so happy for you and proud of you, and proud to call you one of my friends and colleagues in the Booktube space.
Oh man, that means the world, you guys. Thank you so much. And honestly, like, I just so appreciate how welcoming the Booktube community has been, because I've been watching these channels for years now, and then finally decided to as Mike would always say, turn the camera around and film some videos of my own. And you guys have just been so gracious, and what you both have done for helping to foster this loving community of people who really care about each other and care about the sharing our shared love of reading. I mean, it's just very, very appreciated. So thanks for being here, you guys. How are you doing?
You want to go first, Chaz?
Sure. Yeah. I'm doing really good. My Sunday's off to a good start. I woke up with no alarm. That's always nice, and
awesome.
Got some breakfast in, got some good reading in. So yeah, it's been a good morning.
Perfect. I wish I could wake up without an alarm, but it's usually I have such trouble waking up early that I got this alarm clock on my phone called Alarmy. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it lived up to because it starts getting louder and louder as it goes, and it won't turn off until you do like 3 math problems in a row. So it like forces you to do.
That sounds like torture. That sounds like
torture.
It probably is, but it at least gets me up. That's the problem, It's like
hopefully it's at least basic math problems.
Sorry.
Hopefully it's at least basic math and not like.
Are we talking addition, or are we talking a complex algebra or something?
Well, it actually can increase in difficulty, and that was the second problem I ran into. Is I would do like basic math problems, but then I would do them so fast and then just go back to sleep. So I had to keep increasing the difficulty, and you have only 10 seconds to do each one. So it's like 52 plus 83, 35 plus 97. It's like that. So
okay,
yeah. Good times.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. What are you reading right now, Chaz?
Oh, right now I am reading. Well, it's not released yet, but I'm reading Discovery by John Minton and family.
Awesome.
And I sent John a message today. I'm like, I know it's early, but I'm only a little bit of the way in, and I'm already captivated. I'm very impressed.
Wow.
Very, very impressed.
That's great to hear. I really want to read that when that comes out. I'm very excited. I've heard everybody's been unanimously heaping praise on it, and
yeah. Yeah, it is very good so far. That it's well paced, it's well written.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
That's amazing, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely have to check it out. Philip, I know you did a review on it, right, on your
I
channel.
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a great time reading Discovery. I think that it has a very mature authorial voice. The
Yes.
dialogue was one of my favorite aspects of it, really. Just really great dialogue that helps to give you a strong sense of the characters. The characters are vivid. And of course, this cosmic dread is hanging over the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's really atmospheric. I was actually shocked at how I was hoping, of course, to love it, but I was shocked at how much I really did enjoy the book. It's really great stuff. I predict you're gonna love it, Nikhil.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, if what I read so far is any indication, I am no doubt this will be a winner. Yeah.
awesome. That's so great to hear. Yeah, because
Especially if you like cosmic horror and stuff like that. It's Lovecraft and such. It's very much got that uh that subtle creep factor to it that just kind of permeates the atmosphere. Atmospheric, like Philip said, is a very good description. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sold. Yeah. Needless to say, it's I love Eldritchian horror, and also I love atmospheric, kind of tension. And I don't know if you both, I forget if you both read the Sun Eater books, but
No.
on this last one, this Disquiet Gods is the 6th one that came out. It is very Eldritchian, and I was like, oh man, I forgot how I need that in my life. So yeah.
Well, I'm
Now
excited.
looking
I'm
forward
starting
to it.
Sun Eater next month, so
Oh, great. Oh
Yeah.
man. You're in
I'll
for a
start it
treat.
later in the year, but eventually I'll catch up to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm always running behind the bandwagon. I'm trying to
I
catch
usually am too, Philip. Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Same. I just go off your guys's and Mike's recommendations, and I just follow suit. So you guys have all been very responsible for my insanely impossible TBR, and I regret nothing, by the way.
Good.
I see some questions coming in here, but Philip, I wanted to ask you also, like, what are you reading right now? What are you enjoying? And
Yeah, I just started a couple books, and I am a few things actually. Surprisingly for me, normally I like to only read one thing at a time, but
yeah.
I have this book that I just got from the library called Mystic River by Dennis Lehane.
Oh yeah.
That's a Quilluminati read, so I need to get that done before we have our discussion. I think it's mid-month, it's mid-March, our discussion. And I just started the first book in the Dandelion Dynasty. Was it Grace of Kings? Grace of Kings?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've literally just started it because I recently finished the last book in R. Scott Baker's Second Apocalypse series, The Unholy Consult. So that was a stunning and depressing and amazing and just a crazy read. And I'm also reading some SPFBO for the Spiff Box. And so getting through I'm probably going to do a bundle review just to try to get more people to watch those Spiffbo reviews, so people can learn about some great self-published fantasy out there. And also, for me, this is stunning news, but I'm actually listening to an audiobook. Yeah, I'm a failed audiobook listener, and I was converted, though, or at least to give an incentive to try, because Alan did such a great job with The Way of a Dan that I listened to the whole thing. The first time I ever got through an audiobook was Alan's performance of The Way of a Dan. He was just that good. So I thought maybe I can do this. So now I'm listening to Andy Serkis doing Fellowship of the Ring, which is, I need to go with something very familiar. I realized while listening to The Way of a Dan, I didn't care if I missed something because I know the story. So it's really helpful to me, I think, to be able to listen to an audiobook from a story that I already know intimately, and that would be Lord of the Rings. So that was the logical choice. But yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Oh man, I got to check out the Andy Serkis rendition, because I just get the feeling that even for non-audiobook fans or like fans of physical reading, it would just be one of those that would capture the imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I just reread The Hobbit for the it's my fourth reread of The Hobbit, but or my fourth read, I should say, third reread, but I did it with the audiobook, and Andy Serkis was just fantastic. I mean, he sang all the songs, which is what you want, and it was just.
He does a really great Tom Bombadil, by the way.
He does.
Yeah.
Yes. I've heard that. I haven't listened to it yet, but I've heard some clips of his Tom Bombadil, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm down for this. And, if you want some recommendations, Philip, the Dresden Files will change your experience on audio.
Okay.
Oh yes, right.
Yeah.
I thought I would go to after Lord of the Rings. It's going to take me forever to get through it, but after Lord of the Rings, I think I will. I was going to do First Law next, which also
good. Yeah.
highly praised.
I've heard.
Yeah.
I've heard Stephen Pacey, right?
And again, I'm familiar. I've read the First Law trilogy 2 times already, so I'm not going to worry about missing something, which is my problem. The few times I've tried audiobooks is I constantly rewind because I'm zoning out, So.
Totally. Yeah, it's the same thing happens to me. I felt like because I've listened to parts of the First Law trilogy with Stephen Pacey's, magnificent renditions of those characters, and I got to say that was one of the few that I just felt enraptured by throughout. Yeah, it's amazing. I see some questions coming in. I'm just gonna throw some of these on the screen here. When writing a song, which comes first, the lyrics or the beat? So that's a good question. I for me personally, I think everybody is very different in how they approach stuff. But for me, I always am a melody first kind of person. So melody will pop into my mind, or I'll just play it. Kind of like when I was working on your piece, Philip. Just playing this melody over and over again, 50, 100 times, until it starts to crystallize into something. And then that for me is kind of the roots to branches. And then the lyrics can come after that. But sometimes there's like an overall vibe of the song that it feels like it lends itself to a subject matter, or there's something I want to say in a song. But usually the lyrics take me longer. So I end up kind of waffling back and forth with the lyrics. But it's usually the music first for me. Yeah.
That is a good question. I was often curious how that came about for Tolkien when he wrote the songs for his books.
And, I haven't seen any interviews about that, but I'd be curious to know if he talked about that process too. I don't know if you've seen anything like that, Philip. Or Chaz, yeah.
No, that's not going to think of. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be cool. Yeah, because I would imagine he probably had some sort of a rhythmic cadence or ideas that he thought of melodically that could be, who would serve the music. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Robin. Thank you. Sam. Good to see all of you here. The alarm sounds worse than the alarm clock that has wheels and rolls itself around the room, so you have to chase it.
Hey, at least with that one, you're getting exercise, right?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's going to be my next step, because I feel like my sleeping is devolving as it goes, so my ability to wake up is devolving. So math problems are just not going to do it at some point, Alarm clocks that play your favorite music, that is wake up heaven. Yeah, I think for me personally, I'll need to have like thrash metal or something to like get my blood pumping or something like that. I don't know. Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks so much. Nice. Always have to get some morning caffeination, not to be confused with afternoon caffeination, or even sometimes early evening caffeination. Oh yeah, Discovery must be talking about. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's very, very good.
People are gonna love it. I'm very sure. No, yeah, you're not the last.
Yeah.
Not alone.
It's great to see how many people have discovered that series now. It's like it's again power of the Booktube community.
Yeah. And it's nice that it's complete now too. We're getting the final book, so there will be those of us that won't have to wait for the next book.
Totally.
That was my strategy all along, actually.
Yeah. That's what I tell myself every time. Here, another guest. Woo!
Yay!
And it's John from
Hello.
Dragons, everybody.
Oh, hey. Good to meet you, John.
How you doing? How's things?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, good.
John's videos always make me jealous every time I see them because he lives in the English countryside and it's like my dream, you know. So every time he's walking through a forest or something, just this picturesque nature and talking about books, I'm like, these are my two favorite things, you know.
I'm living the dream. Living the dream.
Definitely my dream for sure. Just seeing some comments here come up. I tried the first book of Sun Eater and it wasn't really my cup of tea, but I seem to be the only one. You know, honestly, I feel like the first book is good, but the greatness comes on the second book, you know. It's like like so many series I've fallen in love with. I felt the same actually with The Wheel of Time, where it's like, you know, the second one is where they can kind of do their own thing and go off in their own direction completely. And so the first book is good, but you know, I enjoyed the first book personally, but I could totally see why some people are like, it didn't necessarily make me go, I have to pick up the second one right away, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think The Bound and the Broken is a bit like that as well.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. With the first book, you can feel the influences. And yeah, I personally don't mind that at all. I love a writer who is open about their inspirations.
Totally.
Yeah, but you can feel it in the first book, whereas in the second full book, Ryan Cahill he starts doing his own thing really in that second. And by the third book, he's really got some great stuff going on, I think.
That's great to know, actually. Yeah, I've only read The Fall so far, and I loved how fast paced it was. But I figure Of Blood and Fire will be much more like a slow burn, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of action in all the books.
There are,
a lot of action. Yeah,
cool. That's great. John, I was asking the rest of the crew here what they're reading, but what are you currently reading? I know we're doing a buddy read as well.
Yeah, that I'm reading that, and I've got a couple of book club books for my Discord channel that I'm going to start for this month. We're going to be reading Legends and Lattes by
nice.
Is it Travis Baldry? I'm sure it is. Yeah, and I'm continuing with my James Herbert readathon, and this month it's going to be Fluke. So not quite horror for him, but a really, really interesting book. Absolutely fascinating. It's a story told from the perspective of a dog. Fluke is actually the name of the dog, but I don't want to spoil too much, but everything, it's not quite as it seems. Ooh. So there's a lot going on with that book, but absolutely wonderful book. Hated it the first time I read it, loved it the second time I read it. Fantastic, but really, really enjoying reading all of James Herbert's work again. It holds up well.
I've only recently heard about James Herbert. I'd never heard of him before, and somebody mentioned him on another live stream, so that's cool.
Yeah,
Lattes is great.
Yeah, I've read Legends and Lattes before.
Okay.
It's just a hug in book form, isn't it? It's just wonderful.
It
is. Yeah, and because I read mainly horror, so to go from all the hatred and bile and viciousness of horror to just something that's just so lovely, it was like such a nice change of pace.
Can someone please explain something to me? Why is it every time I meet somebody who loves horror, they're always the nicest person?
So true. So true.
I don't know.
Are you just well adjusted because you get it all out while you're reading, or
right? They're reading about all the things not to do.
Yeah. Right. But I think that's the wonderful thing with horror, because it allows you to test your boundaries in a safe environment. At any point when it gets too much, you can say, right, that's enough. book is getting buried in the garden, never to be seen again. And yeah, I adore horror. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I love like I feel like I've kind of grown up with horror as a, you know, a reading genre that I just enjoy, because like the first books that I was just head over heels for were Goosebumps when I was little. You know, it's like I would go to the Scholastic Book Fair and just like use my allowance every time. It was all on Goosebumps basically. And I think R.L. Stine had released like 45 books within like 4 years or something. It's some insane amount.
Wow.
I don't even understand
That's
how
a lot of books.
Yeah. But no, it was, and then, you know, discovered Stephen King and stuff as well. But I feel like horror and fantasy are very similar in one respect, is that they provide a canvas for storytelling in the sense that like fantasy could be fantasy horror, it could be fantasy sci-fi, it could be fantasy coming of age, it could be you know, there's so many things that fantasy could intersect with, I guess you could say. And it's the same with horror. You know, you could have horror comedy, you could have horror sci-fi, like there's so many different approaches to.
Yeah, there's no boundaries with it, because I mean, like science fiction and regular literature, they can be constrained by, you know, actual science. You don't really need that with fantasy or horror, because going into those two genres, I think you have to have that suspension of disbelief to a certain extent. You've got to fully immerse yourself in the story, and with that, the author, they can just run riot with their imaginations. I think that's when those genres really hit their peak, when an author is like, I'm just gonna go crazy. Any old idea I've got, just going on the page.
Yeah. Stephen King excels at that with his Dark Tower series. It's like, let's see how weird we can possibly get while still being amazing, you know? So he's very good at balancing that fine line between bizarre and amazing.
Yeah, I've just started reading The Gunslinger, the first one.
Yeah.
I've never read it before, and I'm very confused. very confused.
Gunslinger will do that to you.
The Gunslinger is my least favorite of the Dark Tower books, and but I think I would enjoy it more on a reread after having read the end of the Dark Tower series, because I can't say why, because it would spoil it, but I think it lends context to the Gunslinger after you finish the series.
Actually, yes. Like I'm on a reread right now, so I've read the first 6 books again. And I found the Gunslinger to be incredible on a second read. And I honestly did not enjoy it on the first read, to the point where I almost didn't continue the series. Yeah. And then I decided I'll give the first couple chapters of the second book a chance. And they were just so compelling that that was it for me. But I'm so glad I went and reread it, actually, because you're right, Chaz, like it lends so much more context to the character. And also you recognize certain foreshadowing things the first time. It's really actually pretty great on a second read, but yeah. How did you feel, Philip, about it?
I loved it the first time. I had a blast with the Gunslinger, and I was coming at it from and I knew that Stephen King had all kinds of things that he was throwing into these books, just all sorts of influences. There's some Tolkien in there. There's Shardik is in there. There's all these just from all over the place. But he also, for the sort of premise, the weirdness of it, he took a lot from a Robert Browning poem from the 19th century, "Child Roll Into the Dark Tower Came,"
right?
Which is the weirdest poem from the entire 19th century. It is just bizarre. So I do recommend reading that poem. It'll give you some. It's not terribly long, but it'll give you some insights into the weirdness of the Gunslinger. I loved it. I didn't understand why people didn't like it. Even the first time I read it, I was like, this is fantastic. I love this weird stuff.
Totally.
But yeah,
I'll have to check out that poem. I remember seeing in a bookstore in Vegas when we had evacuated from the fires. I didn't end up picking it up, but I really do kind of wish I had, because I found a used copy of Shardik, actually, the book that the characters, that he was influenced by. And I was like, it would have been actually really cool to see some of that source material,
Yeah.
But yeah,
sure. You had a nice comment from Sam Not So Wise a little while back there about he's listening or watching Wheel of Time season 2, and he had something to say about music. Yeah.
Oh, thanks so much, Sam. Really appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for being here. And I love your channel, by the way. And I'm just so glad that you're enjoying the music. It's really cool. Like, getting to work on that show was a dream come true in a lot of respects, because I had read, I think I was the only one on the team that had read all the books by the point that I started working on it. And so I would message cues or like pieces of music. I'd message them to Lorne, the lead composer on the show, and I would ask him, like, hey, I think season 3 or 4 is going to start to mention XYZ plot points. So what if we foreshadow that musically here, and trying to figure out like ways of connecting the dots. So it was really fun. It's just like,
that's cool.
Books and music are like the two. It's always interesting to see the confluence of like how one can inform the other from a storytelling perspective too. And then like figuring out like, how can we make this sound grand and like different? And that was actually a big conversation actually for Wheel of Time, was they wanted it to be like in a sense, the antithesis of regular fantasy music is they wanted it to be lush. They wanted it to be big, but they didn't want it to sound traditional orchestral. They didn't want to have all the musical tropes that you usually hear in a fantasy TV series. So that was an interesting thing. So Lorne had like a bunch of like Celtic and Cajun influences in the music, and like the vocalist had almost like I don't know, it's like there's like a little bit of rock influences. There's all sorts of things. Even some solo cello that would be processed and distorted, and stuff like that. So it's very different to a regular fantasy score. So it was a nice world to play in. And actually, funny story about that was there was this instrument we used that was an ancient Celtic one. Maybe you've heard of this one, Philip, but it's called a carnix. And it's this giant horn, and it just sounds like the war horn, to end all war horns. And in order to record it properly, you have to rent out a whole auditorium and record it in there so you could get the acoustics and make it sound as big as it, So really cool stuff. But yeah, lots of fun Wheel of Time stories there. Jenny also had a question. What is your biggest career dream for your music? Over the moon wish list. I think personally, like, the culmination of everything I've been really enjoying right now, which is writing music for book adaptations. Like, I would love to be the adaptation guy. I would love to be able to read the source material, get to know the characters, and work on fantasy, sci-fi, horror, Stephen King adaptations, as a composer. I think it would be really cool beyond that to, I have this production company I started with a couple of the people from Dead Whisper, who the director and the cinematographer and I become really good friends. So they were like, let's start a production company so you could score all the stuff we work on, but then also maybe you could help produce. And so my dream goal would be like to be able to working with an author to option something and actually see it through, based on the love of the source material, and like seeing all the pitfalls that certain fantasy, sci-fi, and horror adaptations have had in the past, and go like, how can we make it in service to the spirit of the book, and like actually see that through from a production standpoint, and then also compose on it. Like, that would be the ultimate.
That's a cool, that would be awesome.
Well, Nikhil, when Hollywood knocks on my door to adapt the Adan trilogy, I'll call you.
Oh man, yes. It's only a matter of time, man. I'm telling you, that your books are just incredible. Like,
don't hold your breath, but yeah.
Yeah, and you can come film in the English countryside and we can hang out.
Yes.
There you go.
Perfect.
There you go.
I love it. Yes.
And I'll help produce so that I could fly over there and just like hang out with you guys for for a year or two.
That's a dream right there.
Yeah. I'm in. Already thought about it. I'm in. Just seeing what other comments are here. Professional Bookworm says 100% Eye of the World was good. Very messy and off-putting ending. Great Hunt is one of my all-time favorite books. So yeah, I felt the same. I think a lot of this comes to and Philip, actually, I would be curious on your thoughts on this, and Chaz as well, since you both have published novels. But were there any talk when you were like if you were talking to publishers at any point in the process, like was there ever a thought of like, oh, this should be more like these books that are selling, or was there any talk? Because I know with The Wheel of Time, that was one of the conditions for him getting that first book published, is that it had to be very Tolkien inspired, and so yeah, I don't know if you guys had similar situations, or how your trajectories were.
Chaz, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. I didn't really do a whole lot with the traditional publishing route. I sent off my manuscript and things to a couple of publishers.
Yeah.
And I got the standard form letter back, this isn't what we're looking for right now and things.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go the agent route, which I know is preferable, but these particular publishing houses accepted non-agented. I know that isn't a word, but they accepted
unsolicited manuscripts.
Unsolicited, thank you, unsolicited submissions. So I had sent some off, but pretty early on, I after doing a bunch of research, I was convinced that I wanted to go the self-publish route. And that's not the most lucrative, but I don't necessarily care about that. I love to write. I love to share my books with people that want to read them. And I'm not concerned about handing over all my money to a publisher, or the majority of my money. They take a large percentage. I just wasn't interested in that, just to get name recognition. I just do it for the passion of writing and finding readers that enjoy the books. So, so yeah, it was. But early on in that process, I did, through the research that I was doing at the time, there was a fair amount of publishers that were looking for non-Tolkien-esque. Books. They wanted something new and different and fresh, and so and I think part of that may be because some of those early books from really popular writers did heavily utilize Tolkien, like Terry Brooks and like Robert Jordan. In their first books, it was very apparent, which isn't a bad thing. Tolkien's brilliant and he's inspirational for a reason. But in my research, I was finding that a lot of publishers did not want that anymore. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
What about you, Philip?
Yeah, pretty similar. I actually did have an agent for a while, and I thought initially I was going to go the traditional publishing route, and he was great. He never once told me, you need to make your book more like this or that, or to, get on this trend or whatever. He never said anything like that. He just wanted to help me make the story itself as great as we could make it. And it was about the integrity of the story always. And he was wonderful to work with, but we did ultimately have a conversation when he did his last pitch, which was during COVID. It just was, we came to the realization that what I'm doing is epic fantasy, and traditional publishers are largely not interested in epic fantasy. So it was a kind of a mutual decision. He was very encouraging in helping me, come to this realization that it was time to self-publish. And I never had a single moment of regret. In fact, the moment I decided to self-publish, it was just this incredible feeling of freedom and empowerment, because I'm no longer waiting for someone to publish me. I was doing it myself. So I didn't regret it for a moment, but I never experienced any, other than the fact that no one wanted to publish my books because it wasn't fitting in with the trends. I never experienced any pressure to change my story from anyone. But I just have that one little piece of experience, of the traditional publishing. So I worked with the agent, and that's about all I know, really. So
right. It's refreshing to hear.
Awesome.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chaz.
Oh no, go ahead. I was just gonna say I really enjoy hearing Philip's story in that regard and that experience. And you're right, it is very freeing. That being said, Philip, they lost out because the Adan trilogy is very traditional worthy, even if they weren't biting. But yeah.
Thank you, Chaz. Yeah,
You're welcome.
I'm happy. I'm really happy the way things turned out. Just to have people reading the book is incredibly rewarding. People like you and Nikhil, and it's just wow. And I get to work with cool people like Nikhil on a theme song too.
Right, and that was the pairing of the two is just beautiful. It's
Wow. Everything I wanted and more, really. That piece that Nikhil composed, just fantastic.
And your daughter too. Just
amazing. Yeah,
that's some incredible talent.
Her every note was just perfection. I mean, just fantastic. It's like I always feel. I forget which musician had talked about this, but it's just paraphrasing a quote. But it's basically about the notes you don't play are as important as the notes you do, and the ones you do, you should make them count. And I really felt like that with her. The way she played, it's like every note had meaning. I think of like some of my favorite guitarists, like David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. He was very good at like make the less notes count more. And Rohana, I feel like she just really embodies that when she plays. So.
Thank you. And I'm a proud dad. I mean, she from an early age decided she wanted to make cello her passion, and she worked hard on it. She practiced hours every day, and eventually she went to the Juilliard pre-college program. So I had to drive her into Manhattan every Saturday. And boy, did she work hard at it. She worked at it. But all along the way, people would always remark on what the most common word used was musicality, that she had this musicality to her playing that people appreciated. So it's not talent that comes from me. I can tell you that. Must be her mother. But it's really been a great time, being able to watch her progress as a musician. So
yeah. I can relate to that also. It's like it's always interesting to see where these passions come from. It's like for me, I'm the only one in my family or extended family, even throughout like generations, that have played an instrument. Like I don't know why, doesn't make any sense. But yeah, like most of my family on my dad's side are all teachers, and in academia and stuff. And so it's a complete like left turn, but sometimes things find you as much as you find them, right? So Jibberwocky had a great question here. Have you ever watched a movie or a show that's adapted and the music has inspired you to read the novel? Actually, the only one I can think of, because lately I always see something that is being adapted and then I'll try to either pitch for it or I'll want to read the series before it comes out, just in anticipation. So the one I would say is Lord of the Rings. I remember seeing every single one in like midnight screenings, and I just remember everyone being dressed up in costume and the way that felt. And Howard Shore's music was just like, that was the soundtrack of my summer in 2002 or 2001 when it came out. And I was just listening to the Shire music like every day and hanging out at the beach.
Yeah, Howard Shore's brilliant.
Yeah,
really
just
a wonderful job.
And he just captures the spirit of those books. So that automatically made me want to, dive headfirst into Tolkien and read those. So yeah.
It was a good time watching those films at the cinema, though, wasn't it?
Wasn't it? Yeah. Did you go to a lot of those like kind of midnight? I don't know if they had midnight screenings and things like that over by you, John?
Not at the cinema I had. It was just like normal, like nighttime showings, like start at about 7 in the evening.
Yeah.
I had to go and see each film several times because my sister loves Lord of the Rings, but she's severely arachnophobic. So I'd go and watch the films, Big Brother doing well by her. So I'd go and watch them. Then we'd go and see them again, maybe a couple of days later. And I'd be able to say, yeah, you need to put your headphones in and close your eyes now. And I'd just like nudge her when the spider had gone. So
yeah, especially those Shelob sequences. Woo.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
And the movie really does, like, the movies really do justice to some of those elements of the books too, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They're just beautiful films.
Yeah,
Absolutely beautiful films.
I feel like there's very few adaptations that have hit that mark. And I always find it really funny how that even came about, because if you've seen any of Peter Jackson's previous works before, before The Lord of the Rings, like Meet the Feebles with the like the Muppets or whatever, and then Dead Alive.
Bad Taste and Brain Dead. Oh my life, they're disgusting.
And he somehow convinces people to give him like all this money to adapt one of the greatest fantasy trilogies of all time. What could go wrong? You know? But somehow everything went right. So just pretty amazing. Gage says Wayfarers by Becky Chambers is such a hug in a book as well, and touches on so many social issues. I've never read Becky Chambers, actually. Have any of you all?
Yeah, I've heard about it. The first book is Long Way to a Slow Angry Planet.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I haven't read it, but I've heard the same, that it's another hug in a book.
Yeah.
I watched reviewed it the other day and said that exact phrase.
Okay.
Yeah. The first book in the Wayfarers, it was the first book that I read this year. We did it as a book club read with Amethyst and Gage, and phenomenal book. And her Monk and Robot series as well, A Psalm for the Wild Bill. That book absolutely changed my outlook on life. Really powerful book. Wonderful characters, wonderful world building. Just she packs an awful lot into a novella, and it's just wonderful stuff. It really is.
Wow, that's cool. I could use a hug of a book right now, because I'm reading 1984 and Dead House Gates, and it's a doozy, right?
Wow.
Ooh,
yeah,
1984.
Yeah, I was like, because I never read it before, and
I never have either, actually.
Okay, right? Yeah, I remember you.
I will be, though.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's fantastic. I can't believe, unfortunately, how eerily accurate it is to the times as well. Even like down to the very small details. It's like there's one thing that really threw me for a loop, where they're talking about like, in this kind of dystopian society, like we have so many subscriptions we can't even keep a track of them anymore. I'm like, that is just too insane, especially given the fact that it was written in 1949.
Yeah, and like fake news is such a big deal in that book as well, isn't it?
And even deleting terms, like having terms deleted from the public. Wild.
So some of those earlier works are eerily prophetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Childhood's End is also another great one, Arthur C. Clarke. Some really just ones where you just feel like this felt like it could have been written today, Terry's my mother-in-law, everyone.
Oh, hey, hello, Terry.
She was kindly sent me that beautiful copy of The Way of Edan. So,
nice.
And we get to trade recommendations all the time, which is really fun. And when Linda's dad was here, actually, over Christmas break, he was like, I think he read more than I did. He was like reading 3-4 books at a time while he was here.
Wow.
So they're voracious readers as well. She was saying, I was okay with horror until I had my first child, then I couldn't stomach it anymore. Yeah, that makes sense. It's adds a different layer of context. That's why like books like Pet Sematary, people always say like once they have kids, it's like a no-go,
Yeah.
Horror has been a hit or miss, but I've always loved King style, but not many others have hit so far. Got me reading the Rat series. Yeah. James Herbert. I'm also curious if any of you know of other horror coming of age stories, because that's one thing that King does really well, is like an emphasis on character and coming of age, but in the context of horror. Would you all say I've heard of Dan Simmons' Summer of Night, I think is one. I don't know.
I've only read Hyperion.
Okay.
Yeah, same here, Philip.
I bet John would know. John would have titles for you.
Yeah. I think the favorite Dan Simmons horror that I've read is Carrion Comfort. It's a chonko. It's about 900 pages, but it's mind vampires pretty much. If I'm thinking of the right one, it's really good. He's a phenomenal writer. I don't think he gets enough credit for just how beautiful his prose can be at times.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah,
Hyperion was outstanding.
Yeah, there was times during Hyperion, and I had to put the book down because it's just absolutely beautifully written.
Yeah.
And the way he writes so many different genres in one book and keeps it all coherent, it's absolutely masterful. I don't know how he did it.
Totally.
But yeah, Dan Simmons' horror work is definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
There's another one that's really good. I think Children of the Night or something. I forget. But yeah, I've read about 3 or 4 of his horror novels. Really good stuff.
I have to check it out. Yeah, I
really think you'd enjoy him.
Doesn't Robert McCammon do this sort of coming of age horror sort of thing?
He does. Yeah.
Even though it's not strictly horror, it's kind of more magical realism with horror undertones. Boy's Life was a masterpiece.
Okay.
One of the few books that made me choke up at the end.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite books that I've read. Just absolutely brilliant. Makes me want to read other Robert McCammon, and I will eventually. So yeah.
His books are really hard to get over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like I've heard everyone talk about Swan Song, and you can't get it in a bookshop for love nor money. And you go on Amazon, and it's like, just for the paperback, it's like twice as much as what a regular paperback costs.
Wow.
So it's really strange.
Yeah.
But I did manage to find a secondhand copy of A Boy's Life for like £1 a couple of months ago. So I've got that to look forward to.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of any. Most of the horror I read, the characters die before they have any chance to come of age. So
there is one that I was able to think of really briefly, and that I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's called Meddling Kids by Edgar Quintero, and it's for fans of Scooby-Doo. It's like what if your favorite childhood gang and their dog. I mean, it has it's not literally Scooby-Doo, but it basically is. It's a group of kids and their dog, and they used to solve crimes as kids, and now they're all grown up, and they're confronted with a cosmic horror situation. So it's kind of like Scooby-Doo meets Lovecraft. It's a great book.
That sounds incredible. What's that one?
Meddling Kids. In fact, I'll see if I can.
Cool.
I'll put the cover right up here on the screen.
Cool. Nice.
There we go.
Okay.
I dig that cover too.
That's kind of what every villain would say about the Scooby-Doo and the gang every time they would solve the mystery, right?
And I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those meddling kids.
Yeah. I think, Nikhil, it probably is a bit of a stretch, but there are some coming of age elements in the Minton's book in Discovery.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, it's a bit of a stretch, but there are some. You could say that there are some elements of it in there.
Yeah. Okay, well, great. That I was already sold on the book, and now I'm that much more. So I'm definitely. When is this supposed to come out? Is it in May?
May 15th.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like I'm going to be a day one reader.
Yeah, it's worth your time. It really is. Yeah.
We have that on deck, and then Stephen King, I think, is coming out with Never Flinch in May.
Oh, yeah. I heard he had a new one coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Blue-eyed Matt. Hey, how are you, man?
Hey, Matt.
Hello, Matt.
Sam, Not So Wise. I can't wait to hear your work on season 3. You know, it's so cool actually. On season 3, I got a chance to. I'll just tease it here by saying I got a chance to work on a song, which was really cool. Because production was like, oh, what instruments did you use for this thing? And they sourced the instruments for the set and everything. So hopefully I'll be able to talk more about that soon. But
you're not allowed to tell us which episode, I guess, right?
I actually don't even know which episode it's going to be in. But I do know the subject matter. I don't even think I'm allowed to talk about the subject matter yet. But I think it's going to be out in March, mid-March or something.
Yeah, so, I heard the release date is pretty soon here.
Yeah. So as soon as it's out, like I will spill all the tea, talk about all the stuff. But
it is cool. Like Sam says, it's nice to know the person making the sounds. That's kind of cool.
And that's coming from a musician too, because Sam is also a musician.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. No, that's what I love about this community too, is like we all kind of bring our own passions into it, and we all have different kind of varying interests or experiences or backgrounds, and it informs our discussions. It's really cool. I feel like that's what, because I feel like the community is about the books, of course, and that's the centerpiece of it, and that's what brings us all together. But then it becomes even more than that, and it's a result of all these experiences, life experiences, or worldviews that are shaped by what we're passionate about. It's freaking awesome. I love it. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's definitely a shared love of music, with fantasy fans, I think, as well, because at least the majority, people talk about, oh, this is my favorite soundtrack to read to, or things like that. So we have a shared love of music. I don't know if there's any correlation, but I feel like people who listen to music very broadly, various different types, especially classical music and things like that, tend to also be lovers of fantasy. I don't know if there's any correlation there, but I know that's the case for me.
Yeah.
And the amount of horror fans that are also metal fans.
Yeah.
It's like I'm both. I don't know a horror fan that doesn't love metal as well.
Yeah.
Totally. And to Philip's point, it's like metal fans are some of the nicest, kindest people.
Again, yeah. It's true.
Once I'm finished with this, I'm going to go and listen to some cattle decapitation just to chill out.
I love it. Oh man, I remember my first metal experience was at an Iron Maiden concert, and everyone was like, could see we wanted to like get to the front of where the stage was, and they were like, oh, everybody give them some room, and it was like, that was just so nice. It was just so communal.
And then they shoved you in the mosh pit.
Yeah, exactly. Famous last words. Four corners of the page. What book series would be your dream to adapt musically? I mean, God, it would be, but I doubt I would personally have a shot for it. But let's say in an alternate universe, the Dark Tower series.
Oh yeah,
it's the one that reignited my love for reading in adulthood, and then also just beyond that, it is such a mashup of genres, and it's so much like the through line is so existential in those books that to score to that rather than just kind of what's happening on screen, I think like the undercurrent of the existential search for meaning. I think that's the kind of stuff that's my jam, so I think if I ever could, but I know Mike Flanagan typically works for, and Mike Flanagan is adapting the Dark Tower series.
He is,
which is pretty amazing because Mike Flanagan does such good adaptation. He did Dr. Sleep, he did what else did he do? Gerald's Game, and a few others, I think. But yeah, he's
Haunting of Hill House,
and
House of Usher.
That's right. Yeah,
he's brilliant.
He's great.
He's one of my favorite working directors. Him and Denis Villeneuve are right up there as my two favorite working directors.
Oh yeah. I believe it. Yeah, seems like such a nice guy too, and he's very passionate about King.
Don't hesitate to pitch for it, man.
Yeah, I
got the chops
definitely
for it.
try. I know they typically work with the same composers for his production company typically works with, I think, the Newton brothers on a bunch of this stuff, and I assume maybe probably would for something like this, but hey, never know. And that's testament to the fact that, you know, same thing happened with Wheel of Time, right? Like,
Yeah.
I had no right to pitch for that show. I just decided to do it anyways. Never know what happens, right?
You never know.
Yeah.
Well, Nikhil, I am so happy for you, and I'm so glad that we have you in this community. I am being called to lunch, however, right now.
No worries. Philip, thank you so much for being here, man. And thanks for helping to create this community and make it what it is, you know? And just like, you're just an amazing person, amazing author. I'm thrilled to know you and to call you a friend. So thanks for being here, man.
Well, the pleasure and honor are mine, Nikhil. And I am excited to see what's going to be happening on Shelf-Esteem. It was great chatting with you as well, John and Chaz, and everybody in the chat.
Pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
Always a pleasure, Philip. Always.
All right. Take care now.
Take care, my friend.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks, man. Bye.
Oh, what a nice guy he is.
He's the cool. He really is. Yeah.
Yeah, he's good people.
You all are lovely, honestly. I gotta say, like, all three of you are just wonderful, wonderful people. And I feel so happy whenever I get a chance to chat with any of you, you know. It's like this week has been just such a topsy-turvy week, I think, just from a like work standpoint, and just feeling kind of a little bit ragged, you know, run ragged this week. So I can't tell you how, you know, how uplifting it is to talk to you wonderful fine folks. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, glad to be here. Glad you invited me.
Yeah, hell yeah. I so appreciate you all being here. Jenny. Oh, thanks, Jenny. Awesome, Matt. Thanks for stopping by, man. I'm just looking in the comments here. Epic fantasy is one of my favorite genres. Oh yeah, definitely. I'm so behind on the comments, by the way, you guys. I'm sorry. I'll finally figure out how to catch up and actually get to some of these. So
it's a challenge. It can be a real challenge for sure.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I'm still a live stream newbie, but I aim to change that in subsequent live streams. Hey, thanks so much, man. Thanks for being here. It's great to see you.
I bet you must have been so happy when you got that 1,000. I was so happy for you when you got it.
Oh, thanks,
I
man.
was too. I was surprised it took this long.
Yeah, you know, it's just the YouTube algorithm is a strange beast. I always
it is.
You know, it's like sometimes you feel like, oh, things are moving faster than I expected. Sometimes it goes at a snail's pace, and like,
yeah,
I feel like that's. It sounds funny to say, but I feel like that's a lot like life in general, you know. Yeah. And I've found that just consistently, just putting stuff out there, putting goodwill out there, and just getting to ramble about books with your friends, your new friends, you know. So that's what makes it all worthwhile. And I was very pleased and very honored that 1,000 people would want to hear me blather on about this stuff. So, you know, great.
Definitely. Yeah, it's well worth the time watching your channel. It's been awesome, and I think part of it too is you jumped into a bigger pool now. Mm-hmm. Whereas, you know, Booktube's a lot bigger. Like, I've been on Booktube almost 6 years, and it was a lot smaller when I started. So it, you know, for those that jumped in when I did it, it kind of took longer. Like, I think it was 3 years before I hit 1,000, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But which is okay. I'm just here to have fun and talk about books and stuff like that. But yeah, so I think jumping into a larger pool helps too, because the algorithm has more comparisons to pull from, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
that does make sense, actually. Yeah. And yeah, you're right. I mean, the Booktube community has exploded in the last year, I would say. Mm-hmm. Like, the amount of channels popping up and people sharing kind of their favorite reads. And it's really cool, actually, because I'm seeing people not talk about the same books over and over again, which is, I love that too. But it is nice to see a ton of variety on Booktube, and you know, it's just great. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a fun community to be a part of, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It is.
It's definitely one of the kindest communities on YouTube, I would say, as well. You know, it's like everybody tries really hard not to spoil things for each other. They want to re-experience things through other people's eyes. They'll be very encouraging. Like the Malazan read along, you know, a few people have joined this Discord who have already read it, and they just out of their own kindness and excitement for us reading it are just jumping in to answer questions.
Yeah.
And they just respond so quickly with amazing thoughts on the series. So yeah, it's just a testament to how awesome everybody is in this space, really.
Yeah.
Shire theme is
I love the Shire theme.
Could not agree more. Oh yeah. Oh nice. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Great choice for the wedding. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they were excellent films.
Yeah, I actually had a massive spoiler in those films because I was talking to a work friend and they thought I'd read the books and I hadn't. And we were talking about the first one when, you know, you shall not pass and all that.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was coming back.
Right.
Oh, right.
So
yeah.
I was like, oh, I can't believe he's gone. And they're like, well, he comes back, doesn't he? And I'm like, he does? And they're like, you haven't read the books? I'm like, I have not read the books. So
yeah, that was interesting.
I made sure I did read the books then.
I saw the first movie before I ever read the books, and then I liked the movie so much I went and read the books. And I was like you, John, I was devastated when Gandalf died.
Yeah.
And then I read the book, and I'm like, oh, good. That made me so happy.
Yeah. I mean, he's possibly one of my favorite characters ever. I mean, who doesn't love Gandalf?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the way he portrayed that character, oh my god. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
He's a top 10 character. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I see another guest in our midst. Let's
welcome
Cliff.
Drum roll.
Almost. Oh, maybe
really?
Close but no cigar. Let's see. Meanwhile, I'll read this one. Amethyst says, I was in university when the films were being made. Yeah, the farm where Hobbiton was filmed was just outside the town I lived in.
Oh,
that's awesome.
I'd be curious if you got a chance to at least see it. If you didn't apply to be an extra, did you get a chance to see it from afar or something? Because that would have been amazing to see that. And also, it's like when those films were being made, I assume we also didn't know exactly what we were about to witness. You know, it's like I remember when the announcements came out that this was coming out, I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, I was moderately excited about it, but I didn't really know what to expect. Once that first film hit, that's when I remember the midnight screening for the second one and then the third one. And oh my God, people were going nuts. And it was great. I was like, I haven't seen that kind of rabid enthusiasm for a midnight screening maybe since, I don't know. I mean, the Harry Potter ones, sure. But
yeah,
I think they were kind of similar time frames too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recently went to Warhammer World, which is where Games Workshop are based in Nottingham.
Yeah.
And they have the license to make a like tabletop miniatures game for Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
And we went into their they've got like a museum for all the models, and they had like a huge diorama of I think it was Helm's Deep.
Mm-hmm.
It was about 12 foot square, and there must have been about 1,500-2,000 models, and seeing all these little inch tall models, oh, it was so good. Just seeing all that stuff. They've got a life-size model of an Urukai as well, which is awesome. Terrifying.
Wow, really?
Awesome. Yeah, it's so cool.
Cool.
That is amazing. That is fantastic. Oh,
From
man.
what I understand, the property owners where Hobbiton was filmed have a full Hobbiton that was reconstructed that people can go and like do Airbnb. They can stay in one of the Hobbit homes and stuff like that.
I'd never want to leave.
Yeah,
I just want
I
to
know. I
stay
never
there.
want to leave either, John. Yeah. So I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I watched a news clip about that or something. They were showing off the whole Hobbit village where you could stay in.
That is so cool. Oh man,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to visit. I mean, I could even foresee myself like living there for a few months or something. That would be just amazing. Like, I just wish they had a music industry there or something. But
Yeah, right.
You know, I think if it did, it would be game over for me. You know, It'd be like,
and they made it to scale, or I should say Hobbit scale. So when you go in the doorway, you do have to duck and
that's so cool.
Yeah, it's.
I'd be banging my head for sure. I'm 6'3".
I would too.
I'd be in trouble with a low door.
Yeah, because you think like hobbits are supposed to be what, less than 4 feet high, like 3.5 feet, something like that. Yeah.
Some hokey dude said, "Hey man, I thought 1984 was a riot."
Oh man, the end of that book.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna try to see if I can finish it today. I'm on the last like 100 pages or so, about 2/3 of the way through. Man, it is.
Without spoiling it, there's a part at the end of that book, and it made me. I was cringing while I was reading it. It is horrific.
Yeah.
Jeez. God. Brian Benedict says, speaking of grimdark, by the way, has anyone read the Black Company series by Glenn Cook? Much of the series was written around the mid-'80s, still holds up well as early dark fantasy grimdark. Yeah, I'd heard it was influential for Joe Abercrombie's First Law, right? I think
that's what I heard. Yeah, I have not read it. There's so many to read.
Totally.
You know, unfortunately, I am going to have to jump off as well, Nikhil.
No worries.
Yeah, I'm so glad you invited me, though. And John, I'm so glad to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you. It really is.
Nikhil's always talking about you, and I need to check out your channel and
thank you.
Get on the bandwagon. But this has been great. And Nikhil, here's to 5,000 more at least. You know,
thanks.
You're doing so well, and you're going to go far on Booktube. I have no doubt. So I'm excited, and I'm excited to have you on my channel in a couple weeks here.
Yeah.
Not
Absolutely.
too far away. So
Chaz and friends. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited. Every time we get a chance to chat is always a blast. So really appreciate you being here today. And man, I'm gonna add everybody. I'm gonna add everyone's channel links also in the description after this, so you can go ahead and check out these wonderful people and wonderful channels as well.
Thanks, Nikhil.
Chad, thank you for being here, man.
You're a gem, man. You have a good day, John. Take care, and bye, everybody.
Take care of yourself. Pleasure to meet you.
See you, Chaz.
Bye.
See ya. Another guy. How nice is Chaz? It's
so cool, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome. Good people. Good vibes always.
Oh, definitely. Really nice people.
Sam Not So Wise says 1984 is my favorite book of all time. I believe it. It's one of those books that I feel like it more than lives up to the hype. There's certain books when you hear about them enough, you go, okay, it's almost become a cliche at this point. And I actually went into the book thinking like, okay, Big Brother is always watching, all these things that you hear about.
Yeah.
When you hear about them enough, you kind of, it's very easy to be dismissive of it. And I'm so pleasantly surprised. And I get the feeling this is going to be up there for book of the year for me. I just get this feeling already,
It's one of those books where the hype and all the critical acclaim just doesn't even get close to how phenomenal that book is.
Yeah,
it's unreal. And if I hadn't have known it was written in the year it was written, you would think it was a modern novel. You really would. Scary how accurate. Unfortunately, how accurate it is.
Oh yeah.
Because it's none of the good stuff that he got right. It's all the bad stuff.
Right.
Yeah, but that book is just. It's actually one of the scariest books I've read.
Yeah,
I think
it's terrifying actually.
I think the terror comes from just how prescient it was, and just how true to these times it was. It's phenomenal, awesome book, really is.
And it plays upon I think a fear that is an extension of everything going on right now. Is like, if you could rewrite history, to the point where now people don't even know what really was happening previously, and they just live in this complete bubble, and it's just an extension of everything going on right now. And so it's like their ability to do it with such brutal efficiency is terrifying.
Oh yeah, it's like without spoiling anything, like that department that has to deal with that kind of thing, and they're like, oh, got to get this done before I finish my break.
Yeah.
And they're like changing the world, and they're like just seeing it as this task. It's like the fact that they don't even think it's a big deal. It's horrid.
It's just a job at the end of the day. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Terry says, I'm reading my copy of Way of Idan now. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what you think when you finish, Terry.
Yeah, I actually did buy. I bought the Way of Idan trilogy. I think they were on offer last month. I think it was £3 for the entire trilogy on Kindle. So
amazing!
I'm looking forward to reading them.
Oh, they're great. It really balances the line between traditional fantasy and then adding something completely new with like a Buddhist philosophy and
I know that on the other video that you did when Philip came on your channel, he was saying how much he used to enjoy like the English countryside and all that. So what I'm going to do, once I've read them, I'm going to find the most quintessentially English place I can and film a review video there just for him.
That would be great. Yes. We will.
I'll eat tea and scones and it'll be wonderful.
We will all be living vicariously through you, my friend.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The Terror is Incredible by Dan Simmons. Oh, yes. I still have to read that.
I haven't read that yet. It's on my Kindle, but I need to get to it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Philip has sold out his Broken Binding special edition of The Way of Idan. That is incredible to hear. That is incredible to hear. Yeah, I'm telling you, like this community, the wonderful books he's written. I'm so happy to seeing great authors get the acclaim they deserve. And Jenny being case in point. I'm so happy to seeing like so many people discovering your books, myself included. Had it not been for Philip and Joanna from Joanna Reads, talking about it and going through the reads and getting to hear your discussions, Jenny, like I would have missed out on an incredible fantasy series. So
yeah, if it wasn't for Booktube, I don't think I'd have read anywhere near the amount of, because I'm quite new to fantasy. There's so many books that I wouldn't have known if it hadn't been for Booktube. I'd never have read Kings of the Wild. I'd have never discovered Legends and Lattes. The God Killer series. There's so many, and just hearing people talking about their favorite books, it makes you want to go out and seek these books for yourself.
Totally,
it's such a good community.
100%. Yeah, same. Like a lot of the authors.
Yeah,
like Brady
Jibberwocky. Yeah, Jibberwocky has hit the nail on the head with that one. Yeah. I think My Best Friend's Exorcism is possibly one of the best descriptions of friendship I've ever read.
Really?
It's up there with like It for the friendship in that book. Absolutely phenomenal book. I absolutely loved it. Grady Hendrix, probably one of my favorite contemporary horror authors. Absolutely love his work, what I've read so far.
Amazing.
Yeah,
that's really great to hear.
He's amazing, and I don't think I could be friends with someone who didn't like his work.
Yeah,
I think I think it'd be like, no, go away.
I gotta actually read his books. I have I think I have Best Friend's Exorcism on Kindle, and then recently Terry, my mother-in-law, actually let me know about this place called Book Outlet, and I don't know if they're still doing it, but they were doing a $5.99 sale on all their hardcovers. So I ended up picking up How to Sell a Haunted House.
Oh yeah, I've actually got a signed copy of that.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet though, but
yeah,
it's the coolest signature ever. He's drawn this little ghost that's saying "boo."
Oh really?
Like,
oh,
cool.
that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah, and last month when it was my birthday, I had some birthday money, and I picked up his newest one. Is it Wayward Witches, something like that?
Which were Witchcraft for Girls, maybe?
That's the one. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that one.
35 quid on a copy of Swan Song. Man.
Yeah, his books are crazy expensive over here. It's ridiculous. I don't know why. I really don't.
Yeah. I love that I've never heard anything even close to a negative word about Discovery. Yeah, I'm going to be a day one reader of that. It just sounds exactly right up my alley. Sam, not so wise. Project idea, Nikhil. Booktube band. Hell yes. I would be so down with that. How cool would that be? Like jam out on some ideas for, like a book, theme or something like that. And like all of us play it together.
If you do a metal song, I'll do the growls.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. I think there's plenty of place for metal in fantasy, honestly. And horror, of course. And sci-fi.
Yeah. Because the thing with metal is like, if you wanted to do you're saying fantasy, there's have you ever heard of a band called Battle Law?
No, I haven't actually.
Yeah, they're kind of like a symphonic metal band, like female vocalist, male vocalist. All they sing about is Lord of the Rings.
All right, I gotta check them out.
Yeah, I'll send you the name and some good albums, but some of their song titles: "Journey to Undying Lands," "Riders of Rohan," and
cool.
It's really good music as well. If you like Nightwish, Within Temptation, that kind of thing, you'll love Battle Law. Fantastic band.
All right, I'll definitely check them out. Yeah, thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah, but
I remember hearing Nightwish when they first came out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, Nightwish.
Oh yeah.
I love them.
I think. I think it was Mike from Mike's Book Reviews was saying on one of his book haul videos that he got a signed card from the guitarist of Nightwish. I think is an avid watcher of his channel. So it's like books and music, Yeah. So cool.
I'm actually researching a video at the moment, which is books and music, and I'm down a rabbit hole. It should be out in about 2 weeks or so.
Oh, cool!
And it's metal that is influenced by literature. There is so much. There is so much. Is it Patrick Rothfuss, The Way of the Wind or something?
Name of the Wind. Yeah.
Name of the Wind. There's a Nightwish song based on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Influenced it. Yeah. Anthrax have done songs based on The Dark Tower.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I remember listening to a lot of Iron Maiden, and they did a Samuel Taylor Coleridge poem called "The Rime of the Ancient Mariner," and they did a 14-minute song on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Maiden, I forget the exact number, but songs that they've done that are based on books. There's over 20 songs.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah,
it's unreal.
To Tame a Land, actually, off the Peace of Mind album from I think 1983. It was a fourth studio album. Had a song. Yeah, To Tame a Land. It's based on Dune, actually.
Yeah, because they did actually want to call the song Dune, didn't they? But
oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think Frank Herbert's estate said no because they didn't want to be associated with a metal band.
I see.
Which is a bit weird because I always consider Maiden to be quite a classy band.
Yeah.
They're not like, you know, all their music is really meaningful and, you know,
sure,
brilliantly written.
yeah.
So,
I
but
think
yeah,
there was
like,
also the perception of metal
sorry.
evolved over the years. I think metal was more, I wouldn't say niche because it was actually very popular at that time, but I think like from an outsider's perspective, people just dismissed it or they're like, oh, you know, it's what's wrong with society today or whatever, you know, it's like there was all this negative connotation that is not there now. So
yeah, and I do think it still gets a bit of a bad reputation. There's a lot of people that, oh no, don't listen to that. It's just noise and shouting. And it can be so much more than that. Like Nightwish, I went to see them with my sister, and
cool.
they played about 6 years ago, and they played Ghost Love Score, and it was so beautifully played. It brought me to tears.
Wow.
And you know, music has that power, and you know, it can give you so much joy that it can just fill you with emotion. It's amazing.
100%. Yeah. I'm gonna attempt to catch up to some of these comments now. Four Corners of a Page says, funny you should mention Dark Tower as your dream adaptation. My daughter's middle name is Susanna, out of respect for those books. That is so sweet. I love that. Oh man, that is a wonderful story. I that's a great tribute too. Angel Walker. Oh, thanks so much, Angel. Really appreciate you.
Hey, Angel.
Here. Sam had to duck out. Thank you so much for being here, Sam. The reason I left New Zealand, Amethyst says, was because the jobs just aren't there unless you're in agriculture or tourism. Yeah. I was actually watching a video this morning about the pros and cons of moving to New Zealand. And that was one of the cons was, you know, just there's a little bit lack of jobs. I know for composing, it'll be less of an issue as time goes by and people become more remote, you know, and it'll be less dependent on LA, but not to be for now, I guess. Jenny Ward says Glenn Cook influenced a lot of modern authors. Okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. The amount of, you know, authors you think about like that had day jobs and stuff. I know Stephen King talked about like when I think he was teaching at one point, and he said that like some of his best ideas came to him not when he was necessarily sitting down in the task of writing, but when he was doing his laundry, picking up his kids from school or what have you. So interesting. Yeah. I haven't read 1984 yet, but I'd like to. Yeah, definitely one not to sleep on. And I actually regret not reading it sooner because it's just, it's definitely up there now for book of the year for me. I can already feel it, you know.
And if audiobooks are your thing, the audiobook on Audible is excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool.
Really well done.
Maybe on a reread, I'm going to do that one then.
Yeah.
Take care, Samoki, dude.
Yeah.
Good to see you, man.
Take care, my friend.
Ray, you made it. So good to see you. Oh, whoa. There was a book recently published that tells the story over again from Julia's point of view. That is really interesting. Okay, I guess
I'm gonna have to get that.
Yeah, that is amazing. Thanks for letting us know. Brian Benedict says, I think Glenn Cook worked in the automotive industry. He's got 2 other great series. I didn't even know because I always hear about Black Company. And that's always the de facto series I hear about when I hear about Glenn Cook. But I haven't heard of his other ones. I'll have to check those out. I wonder if they're also grimdark or if there's something different. I'm really excited to start reading your stuff, Jenny. 4 Corners of a Page says, yeah, oh yeah, definitely. I think you're going to really enjoy it. It's just like absolutely beautiful prose, character work, and just master of subtlety. You know, it's just, that's one thing I feel like certain things that can come across heavy-handed in other fantasy books, I feel like are just explored with depth and patience and purpose in a way that I haven't really seen in other fantasy. So go read it.
I think that could be the kind of fantasy I enjoy as well.
Yeah.
Knowing the kind of things I enjoy, do you think I'd enjoy her work?
Oh yeah, I think since you enjoy Robin Hobb so much, you will definitely enjoy her work, because it's the kind of writing that forces you to just slow down and take it all in, you know.
Yeah, I'd enjoy that.
And it's not too.
Yeah, I'll have to look into getting some of her work.
Yeah, definitely. And Jenny says, I have a loft here, ideal for acoustical music, instruments, a pump organ. Get over here and do that jamming session. That actually sounds amazing. I have to take a visit to the East Coast at some point soon, for sure. Malazan has inspired a lot of bands and albums, I believe. Ah, good to know. I didn't know that, actually. I have to check out some of these. David Arkenstone did some Mercedes Lackey books and Mike Oldfield Songs of Distant Earth. Huh. All right. I got some music recommendations to check out now, too. Harmonium player here. No way. I didn't know you play harmonium, Joseph. That's amazing. Okay. Hell yeah. We got to figure out this music collaboration thing at some point. I am absolutely in. Seems like we got a whole group, an ensemble ready. Jibberwocky says, I was young in the 80s and a huge metal fan in a rural area, and I had so much grief from classmates who bought into the Satanic Panic. Yep, that was a huge thing in the 80s.
I remember it would be about maybe the mid 90s. Yeah. I went to a supermarket and I was wearing a Metallica shirt. And as I walked into the supermarket, 2 guys threatened to stab me.
Wait, what?
Yeah, because I was wearing a Metallica shirt.
Oh, that's awesome.
They were like,
I love that.
What? Being threatened with being stabbed? Yeah, they were like really angry at me. They were like, oh, metalhead, we're going to stab you. And I'm like,
oh, geez.
Okay.
That's ridiculous.
Terrifying.
Yeah, geez. I thought at first when you were mentioning it, I thought they stopped you to like compliment you on your shirt or like,
whoa. They saw that I was wearing a metal shirt and they threatened to stab me because of it. Yeah.
Jesus. Oh my God. That's terrible, man.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Here in LA, the most you'll get is like, hey, nice shirt, man. You know?
Yeah, it's like that now. I think because, as you said, metal's so, you know, it's not mainstream, but it's accepted.
Yeah.
And like the other day, I was wearing my Number of the Beast shirt and I was crossing the road. And there was a guy wearing a Maiden shirt as well. And he's like, love the shirt. And I'm like, you too, dude. Yeah, it's nice. Metal community. I think it's similar to like how you were saying about the book community.
Totally. Yeah.
So it can be really friendly as well.
100%.
So there's some wonderful communities to be part of. That's for sure.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah, completely agree. Yeah. You guys, I have to unfortunately take off. I have a meeting coming up for a music project, actually. So I will bid you guys adieu, and thank you so much for being here. John, thank you for being here.
No worries, and congratulations again on 1,000.
Thank you so much. And you guys, I really appreciate you all being here and making this community what it is, you know, because honestly, like, it is only as strong as the people who are part of it, who take part in the discussions, who are welcoming to each other and, you know, just helping to share our mutual love of books. And with everything going on in the world right now, it's especially, you know, wonderful to have a loving community. So I just really appreciate you all being here. And yeah, thanks. And John, thank you for helping to make this community what it is as well, man. And for
thank you for inviting me on again.
Yeah, well, let's do it. Absolutely. We got to do another Shelf Talkers at some point too.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah. So wonderful, you all. Well, I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And I'll see you very soon. Take care, everyone. Thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Bye.